I'm Rhonda, and I'm so happy to be here today sharing my design team project for the Graphics Fairy Premium Membership website. And I just had so much fun creating this. I went to the website to look for ideas, and I came across the Secret Garden Kit, and I just knew that I wanted to do something with this little girl. So I made her my cover using an old photo album. The Graphics Fairy has a lot of these on the website, so you can create these using the images that they have. Summer's Rose is what I've titled this journal, and I imagined this little girl to be named Rose and to be just enjoying all of the beauties of summer and all of the lessons that she learned from nature. And it also inspired me to write a poem, which is inside the book, and I'll share that in a minute. So you can see all the details here on the cover. I made a little cluster using just scraps and bits of flowers and some old jewelry, some seam binding ribbon, and I just hung that from the corner there. I put a little book plate label and I wrapped it with twine, and I'll show you more about how I bound this as we get into it. I just love how it looks, love all the details, love all of the layers. And so I also used an old book cover that I had, but I will show you just how many possibilities there are on the website. So these are just a few, but I really liked this pinky red color, so I found this that could also be used. And had I not had this one already, this is the one I would have used as my background. There's some more grungy aged ones. This one would also be nice. There are so many on the website, so when you get on there, your mind's just going to go wild with ideas. There are so many more projects that I still want to create, but hopefully I'll get to those. Okay, so let's get into the journal here. I just have it tied with twine that I just looped around. That just comes undone like that. Added these cute little charms, the key. And so this just wraps around a few times. So I just use these little applique pieces to make a hinge to hold this photo album page to the front. I used one of their cabinet card backs, and this is from that kit. I have a doily. I used a lot of embossing. There's that key. And here's where I tied on that cluster. And then I lined the book with some embossed paper that I had coffee dyed. So on this page, I just added this rose trim here. And you can see where I used this ticking to wrap the spine. So I bound my pages into this linen piece, and then I wrapped the linen piece with the ticking, and then I joined the two book covers with this piece of canvas. It's actually the edges of the canvas because it was stitched, and then I used that doily to just pull it all together and wrap it to where it has a finished look. So a lot of detail went into that. And so here I just attached this old postcard, and this makes a pocket with another quote. And then I just added this collar piece, and I used this little piece of distressed wood that you can find in the images on the website. I used a piece on each side to just kind of stabilize it. And so here's my poem. So I'll just center that up to where you can read it if you want. Pause the video and read it. But I added a real rose petal from my garden and a little seal here. This opens up to some coffee dyed paper and then flips over to have this quote from the website. A doily. Here's a little music page, a rose for every heart, and I just joined that to another page. And inside of it, I have this journaling card, and it's coffee dyed on the back, gold leafing on the edges. So on the website, there are all kinds of tutorials. So this is the tutorial that I followed. I didn't do it as thick because I wanted a more distressed look, but there are so many tutorials that are just very helpful. Here's just a receipt page that I folded up. Here's some little rose petals that can be added into the journal if you want. And so here's a journaling card that can be taken off, and it just wraps around. This was actually the liner of this book, and I didn't want to throw it away, so I just taped it in, and I just added the age tape, added a flower out of my yard that I dried, and this little quote. And as you turn it over, and so this is just a piece of the Prairie Style washi tape. And I just used my book tape and just put strips down on one of these adhesive sheets that came off of my mailing labels. And then I just cut those where I wanted them and added it to this page. I added some little doily flowers and some pearls. And you can see the writing there that was original. Here's another page that I just added a little bit of trim. And this butterfly can actually fly its wings. And so this I printed on vellum and added this quote to it. Here's another beautiful quote. And so here I just added this little leaf trim and just kind of ran it through there. This I stapled on a paint sample and it says good to grow. I embossed it, added this little flower. This is another page from one of the kits, and I will have all the kits listed down below. Flip out that you can journal behind. Here is another journaling card that I added the gold leaf to. I just added a little bit of coffee filter ruffle to give her a little bit of dimension, and some tulle and the seam binding ribbon. This is an old French book page. Here I just did a little add-in page that I used that tulle to join. So here's some bookmarks that I just folded the bottom up and joined them with a paper clip, and then also with this little bit of leaf ribbon, so it just goes through the holes and kind of holds it together there. And then I used this to add a little journaling spot and more of the gold leafing, more embossing. This is a beautiful page from the website. This I printed on vellum and just make little pockets by folding it up. All you need is love. Here's a little embossed page. Here's some more of those tags. These are all about roses. This I just fussy cut and added a quote, and it just folds out. Here's another one of those tags. Here I embossed the book page there. And I also embossed this paint sample, and it's rose sugar. This was just a little wrap that I made to go over this page, and I just love this image. I think it's so pretty. But that will open up, and then on this side it has a little pocket here, more of that distressed wood, little trim, and then this embossed bookmark. It slips in there like that. More coffee filter ruffle. I made a little pocket here, a little tuck for another one of these paint samples, and it says garden spot, and embossed that really pretty. Another quote. Here's another quote that I added some gold leafing to. This little page just has a little dried flower and tuck spots. Another little dried flower. Pretty page from the kit and another quote. The other side of that receipt. And here's a little tuck spot with some embossed paper with the little postcards. And then on this side I have a pocket too that opens up to another one of those journaling cards. I just added a little bit of the edge of a torn out piece of paper there. Here's that beautiful little image again, and this is a bookmark. I just added it to the edge of the page. And then on this side we have another quote, and we have some circle tags. And then this is the album page that I made on the website. So I found this image and I thought it would be a good representation of her as she got older. And I made it with a pocket, added a butterfly and some rose trim. And then this little notebook I just took from the Secret Garden kit and added a feather, added the gold leafing, and just put all kinds of little coffee dyed papers. And there's the back. So that goes back into that little pocket. But you can see there are so many of these album pages on the website. Here is a picture of a garden. with a little bit of gold leafing. It opens up to journal. I loved this, and so I just wanted to add it in here to represent sometimes how things in life, we have dark times. So I just thought that needed to be in here with the roses too. Here's another quote, and this little tag I just added with this little brad. So go flip it out. Here's another quote, another little circle tag, and on the back we have another tag here. This page. On this side we have another postcard, and we have another one of these tags, another bookmark. So here I have an oversized bobby pin with a little rhinestone bumblebee, and it just holds on this little envelope. I thought these were really cute. Here's another quote. Here's a die cut that I used for this page. This is some tissue paper. Here's another one of those bookmarks. And this is an embossed page on coffee dyed paper. So here's the center of the second signature. And I just added these little flip outs with some lace. I love these, they're so pretty. And then on this side, I have another bookmark with gold leafing. It says Secret Garden. And I added this butterfly with a little bit of a coffee dyed ruffle. But this just slides right back under that little butterfly. And looks really pretty like that. Tissue paper. And that die cut. And I added a little flower to the side. Here's another embossed page with just a little scrap piece there. And it folds down for journaling. And at the bottom it wraps around, makes a little tuck spot for these little tags here. Here's another one of those bookmarks. Another postcard here. You can see how pretty it is. Here's another tag that I just made tuck spots with the leaves. Here I added another dried flower. And then this is a fragile old envelope. It's an original and it has a lot of embossing on it. And I added this image and made a little tuck spot for this tag. I added some old age tape, and then it just folds down also and has these little journaling spots all here. There's the back of it. I just left it as is. And then this is another one of those little envelopes. Have a little postcard in there. And then another one of those journaling tags. A quote. There's the back side of that. Here's a little tuck spot for this little postcard. And then this, I made a copy of an old postcard that I had in my stash. And it says The Last Rose of Summer. And that's where I got the front little handwritten name there. It was off of this. And I just added a little bit of gold leafing there. And I just thought she was so pretty reflecting. And so that just opens up to more journaling. So what I had done is one of the pages was collaged. So I just took and cut all the detail out and let it wrap around the page. Here's a little ticket on this side. And then it serves as a pocket for this little notepad, just with coffee dyed paper. So now you can see how it's cut and detailed there. And then I added this little quote. There's some more of that distressed wood and the linen behind it. And then on this side I have another piece of that torn paper. It's been coffee dyed, and added this little tag so that can be used for more journaling. And I lined the back with some more embossed paper. And then you have this cute little bird charm with a pearl, and it was silver, but I just added some of my gold wax that just made it look more aged. There's the back. So I hope y'all enjoyed this project. I hope you'll go check out all the things that are available on the website. Y'all have a wonderful day. Thanks for watching. God bless.